Hey, good morning, and welcome to Table to Stage. I'm still Jordan Worma. Okay, folks, so this episode is going to have to go into the category of out of my comfort zone. Today's guest is a friend and is now the author of The Magic of Me, a kid's spiritual guide to health and happiness. Becky Cummings has been an educator for a long time, many years, and she got the spark to start writing this book during her time in the classroom. So she will readily admit that her ideas aren't going to appeal to everyone. And I've actually struggled in the week since we recorded this to figure out how I would address my own discomfort. Because I'm really simultaneously very happy for Becky to have completed this project that she's been working on for so long. But I'm also wildly uncomfortable with some of the messages presented. So you're going to have to listen to get the details on that. But for me, it really comes down to kind of a new agey anecdote versus a scientifically valid reasoning. And I will always come down pretty hard on the scientific side of that fence. So that's why I'm so discomforted here. I don't want to be accused of peddling pseudoscience, but I do want my friends to succeed in their creative efforts. So I'm going to let Becky tell you more about it before I dig myself any deeper into this hole. You can please send your complaints and grievances to tabletostage@gmail.com. Go ahead, I can take it. So once I manage to climb out of this hole, I hope that I'll find some more ratings and reviews for the pod on iTunes, which you can go and put up yourself. It's really wacky how they just let anyone put an opinion out there on the internet like that. I hope no one figures out that you can leave ratings and reviews anonymously. That could get super weird and aggressive. I can't imagine anyone using the internet that way, though, right? Anyway, here's Becky from my very own house. It's the only episode recorded there so far.
I'm from Southington originally.
Okay.
Grew up there, went to school there, and then went to UConn.
All right.
Still in Connecticut.
That's a popular school.
Yeah, and it was a fun 5 years. I got to stay a bonus year and go for my master's there. And then I moved after to Meriden and Bristol and hopping all around and wound up in East Hampton.
What did you study at UConn?
Education.
Okay.
Elementary and special education.
All right. And then you spent some time as a teacher and as a tutor, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So where did you go to be a teacher? What was that experience like for you?
It was amazing. So after college, I got a job right away in Wethersfield, and I started out as a fourth grade teacher for a couple years, and then they switched me to fifth grade, and I was in fifth grade for a few more years, so a total of 7.
Okay.
Before I was pregnant and had my son and decided to take some time off.
Okay. All in Wethersfield, the teaching?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so he's what, 10-ish? 8?
He's 8.
8.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So it's been a while.
It's been a while. I never went back.
Since you were in a classroom, but you did some tutoring as well, right?
Right. So I was when I was teaching, I was tutoring a little bit on the side every summer.
Okay.
And when I had him, I decided I'm going to just kind of bump this up a little bit and see how it goes. And I started a part-time tutoring company.
Yeah.
And it went pretty well.
Okay.
And I started doing more and more of that and decided I didn't need to go back to the classroom. I could just have a full-time thing tutoring, and that's what I did for about 8 years straight.
Okay, and this was Boundless Movement,
right?
Is that right?
Yeah.
So what was the inspiration or what was it that got you so into tutoring that you decided you wanted to start your own company for it? Was there a specific draw to working with kids like that?
A couple things. I saw there was definitely a need for it, so There were a lot of students that I was working with, they were struggling. And when I was able to work with them one-on-one, I saw a huge difference. And it was just exciting to see because I could go in there and meet them wherever they were and have fun with it, be creative, use what they loved, and just bring it into the lessons.
Yeah.
And just, it just spread because I was seeing a lot of kids just were struggling in the classroom. Maybe traditional methods weren't working. And when we had that one-on-one time, we could do so much in that 1 hour.
Yeah.
And make good progress.
Well, that's got to be a huge difference going from a classroom of 20-ish kids to being able to actually spend that real one-on-one time for got to be close to an hour, right?
Yeah,
like about what a class would be for, with when you have to split that up between all the kids in the class. So what is that? What is the difference? What's the give and take there between being a teacher and being a tutor for a single child at a time?
Sure. Well, the one I'd say drawback is you don't have other kids to be kind of fellow teachers. So in a classroom, I always depended on my students to be teachers too. And so I would always say, we have 25 teachers instead of just one because everybody's ideas, everybody's always helping each other. So I miss that because you don't have that piece. But when you're one-on-one with a student, you can really, like I said, get in there and figure out where are they at, forget about grade level and this and that. Like, what are they doing right now? Where do they need help? And just kind of build on that. And I always love to pull in their interests and motivate them. Like one of my students, love her. She just wasn't much interested in writing. She loved writing, but she wouldn't do it in school and didn't want to, complete any work that I would give her until one day I was like, okay, well, let's pick something you're interested in. And she wound up reading a book about a girl that went to Uganda and dedicated her life to living in the orphanages there and working. And she got so excited by this book. She came in with like a 10-page letter she wrote to this woman, and she sent it to her, and she would ask me every week, did she write back yet? I'm like, I think she's a little busy.
Oh, wow.
She's got 17 kids. But that was the piece that I really love, was you got to go in there and figure out what do they really need? What's going to motivate them and really help them?
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, are you still doing the tutoring, or is that kind of a back burner thing now?
Yeah, I actually stopped completely when I decided I was going to have to go full on into being an author.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I was working with kids for about 7 years. And in the last year, I pulled back and I was just managing the company. I had about 5 tutors working under me. So I was just organizing and managing. And, it was great to see us helping so many kids. But I also felt a little sad because I wasn't working directly with them anymore.
Yeah, that's got to be a bit of a change to just go right to an administrator kind of position.
Yep. Very different.
What about so you spent 15 years as a teacher, tutor, working with educating kids directly.
Right.
And at some point along that path, you had an idea for a book.
Right.
Right. So it's just came out in September. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's called The Magic of Me, A Kid's Spiritual Guide to Health and Happiness, right?
That's right.
Okay, I got it right.
That's a long one.
And it's available, I know it's on Amazon.
Yes.
Where can people get it otherwise?
Pretty soon it will be available at more stores. I have to get into some local bookshops, but I'm kind of taking things one step at a time. So right now it's Amazon, and hopefully soon I'll have it in a few of the stores in the Village Center in East Hampton. And then hopefully there's a nice new bookstore in Glastonbury coming, and there's a new one in Wethersfield. So hopefully in the coming months you'll see it in there as well. Yeah,
I actually just recorded at that bookstore in Wethersfield with another local author just a few days ago.
Oh, nice.
It's a nice place. Okay, so you got to get it in stores quickly though, because Amazon's already got it on some of their bestseller lists. So if it keeps going like that, you won't have any copies for the local stores. What has been the feedback you've gotten on the book so far?
I'm very blessed when I look at the reviews online. I have about 41 people that have reviewed it already.
Okay.
And it's gotten beautiful reviews. The words, everyone has really kind things to say. I knew that going into this, I had some topics that could be considered a little controversial for some people.
Okay.
So I knew that could be a touchy subject, but I had to just stick to my truth and put it in no matter what.
Okay. All right. So what is the book about? What is the goal of publishing this book that you've had in your mind for so long.
For so long, yes. Well, when I was in the classroom, I just felt there was some pieces missing that I would have loved to give my kids more of. And I always tried my best to do it, but I just felt that there was so much that I couldn't always teach them in the shortened school day, you know, and I really wanted to give them the gift of being healthy and happy and things that they could take and use as an adult.
Yeah.
And so I just started thinking about all these things over the years of what are the lessons that they really need to learn, and all the lessons I've gathered as an adult. And I'm like, gosh, I wish somebody told me this. It seems so simple. But it's not simple. I mean, I look around at so many adults nowadays, and so many of us struggle with being truly happy.
Yeah.
You know, we can have all the things in the world that we need, and there's still so much sadness and depression and anxiety and stress. And I just want our kids to have that chance for the beautiful life they deserve. Yeah. And I want to give them the tools they need at a young age.
So what is your path for providing all of that? That's a lot.
It's a lot. I know. And it's 30 chapters, but I probably could have added 100. So the core of the book.
This is just volume 1.
Yeah, volume 1. I may have some sequels coming out. So the core of the book really starts with loving yourself. And that to me is so key. So teaching kids to love who they are, starting on the outside, appreciating their bodies, how different they are, from the color of their eyes to their hair to the way they're shaped, everything about themselves, just knowing that they were just created to be them. And that's beautiful. And then also diving into their personal gifts, understanding that you are going to have strengths and you're going to have challenges, and you're supposed to, and that's okay.
Right.
You know, and when they look around in the classroom and they see their friend is excelling in math and they're struggling, or, they're not in the highest reading group, and why can't they do that? Understanding that's okay. That's exactly where they're supposed to be. And they can work to improve their abilities, but also to understand that we're meant to be challenged in some areas. So loving yourself for who you are and accepting yourself. So that's where my book sort of starts, and then it branches off from there. It goes into using I call them superpowers, to kind of create the world that you want, meaning that we all have these amazing abilities. We have our thoughts, and we have our words and our actions and our feelings, and we can use those to really transform our lives. We have so much power over our own selves.
Okay. So you're using thoughts as a superpower. Is that the idea?
That's in one of the chapters. Okay. Absolutely.
So I know it's some of the things that you talk about as being a part of the book in the description of the book. One of them is using those superpowers, as you call them, to shape their reality. So in shaping their reality and taking responsibility for themselves, what sort of strategies do you provide kids for that kind of thing? Because that's stuff adults have a lot of trouble with.
Exactly. And there's a million books for adults, right? On that. And it's really cool to read all of them, from the Law of Attraction to, Eckhart Tolle and all this good stuff. And for me, it was always well, how do I take this amazing knowledge and make it into a third, fourth grade reading level, so it's accessible to children.
So that's the age range you're looking at then.
That was the age I wrote it for, right? And so I started with, for example, the power of thoughts. I try to have kids understand that and use analogies that will help them. So I talk about magnets, and how when you're little and you play with a magnet, you put them together, and if they're the same, then you can feel, are they attracting each other, or are they repelling? And I talk about how our thoughts are like magnets. So when you put out positive thoughts into the world, you're going to get positive back. And so I use a lot of analogies in my book to help kids make sense of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then I give them some activities to try. For example, when they're thinking about something and they feel a negative thought pops in, that they can actually stop and change that. So if you were angry about, and this is always one that we have in our house, if you're angry about dinner because it's not what you like, it's my son's always giving me practice here. And I'll say to him, can you change that thought? You don't have to be angry or negative about it. You can change your thought. You know what, this is good. At least it's hot. It's healthy. I appreciate I have it.
Right.
And it starts with little things. So I help kids to understand that they can change their mindset and have control over their thoughts. We usually sometimes, a lot of us feel like we're victims and oh my gosh, and this happened to me, or this is what's going on. But we can actually stop our thoughts and work through them and reframe them to be more positive and work to our advantage.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's something that is important for adults and people of any age to be able to do. And it's difficult.
It is.
It takes a lot of conscious effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And practice.
Yeah. Do you set an expectation for achieving a goal toward this, or is it just the exercise of actually trying to reset your thoughts and be aware of how your thoughts are presenting themselves? So is it process or is it goal, I guess, that you're looking
a little
at?
bit, I would say, of both. So in the book, for example, we talk about the end goal of, let's say a child wants to get on a sports team, and that's their end goal. But they have to use all these different strategies. So it starts with your thoughts, like believing that I can get on this team. I am strong. I am capable.
Sure.
And then working on things like your actions. What actions are you going to do that match those thoughts? Are you going to, if you're going to sit on your bum and play a video game, that doesn't match that thought,
right.
but if you're going to go out and practice, that's going to help you get to where you want to be.
Okay.
So there's journal pages actually in the book too, and that helps kids go through and practice some of these ideas. And one of the end pieces is like working through some goals and thinking about how would they get there using their thoughts and words and actions.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I saw that you have the journal, accompanying journal that goes with the book. Are those two separate books, or is it just a piece in the main book?
Yeah, good question. So the magic of me, the actual book has the journal pages built in.
Okay.
But nowadays with so many ebooks going out, I wanted
sure.
to make the journal component in addition. So if a parent,
Right.
has an ebook or got the free download and they want to have the journal, they can order that piece separately. Or if they have multiple kids.
That's a good idea to make that accessible.
I figured that would be frustrating if you wanted to do that. You're like, where am I going to write it?
Yeah, why is there pencil all over your Kindle?
Yeah, exactly.
So another of the things that you talk about in the book is helping kids take care of themselves, healing themselves, and some of the ways that you go about talking about that through food, water, sleep, all that kind of stuff. So talk about that a little bit, because it's hard enough to make kids understand that cake has eggs in it, but it's not the same as eating eggs.
Right.
So getting them to understand that, taking care of themselves involves a healthy diet and exercise and all that stuff. How do you do that in a way that the kids can understand?
Sure. It's a hard thing. I think as adults, we struggle with it. And I know for me, I'm always a work in process, but I think the first thing I remind myself is I have to model what my kids see they're going to want to do. And so I try really hard to.
Such a hard thing to
so
see.
hard. It's so hard. I know. And every single day, my son's like, "Why are you drinking that coffee?" I'm like, "I know I shouldn't be." He's like, "Well, then put it down."
And it's always the stuff that I know I should change about myself that I see my kids doing. They're getting the bad stuff. I hope they're getting the good stuff too.
Yeah, they're getting both. Don't worry. That's what therapy's for. No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it's it begins with that modeling piece, and then. Some of it seems so basic, but I think we just forget. I know even as a grown up, I'm like, I forgot how much like just being in the sun sometimes means to me. And that's a really healing thing, to just go outside and get pure sunlight on your skin. Yeah. And there's a lot of mixed messages we get in our world too. So some kids are actually afraid of the sun. Like they don't want to get burned. They want to stay out of the sun.
Right.
And I think we've gotten kids very confused with sending a lot of mixed signals. So my book tries to go in and clarify some basic things like, yes, you got to have sunlight, and yes, you need to be drinking water. And then I touch on some things where maybe people don't feel comfortable, but I just feel like it's what I've learned from my past years of investigation and truth. So I put it out there, and I always present it in a way where I feel like this is what I feel. It's my opinion, but I'm only one person, and there's a million ideas. So it's really important that you seek your own truth and you do your own research and let it be a topic or a conversation starter.
Okay.
When I recommend like not drinking cow milk, that may make a lot of people upset.
Yeah.
And, I was raised on cow milk. I love cow milk,
Right.
It's really hard for me not to like want to drink cow milk.
Right.
But all the research that I've experienced is leading to that it's not so good for you. And so I presented that in the book in a way kids could understand. And I encourage it for food for thought for families. Go investigate that and have fun with it and explore topics together and learn together, because that makes it more exciting for kids too, and they feel like they can have input and be, discovering their own information.
Yeah. Now, what about a topic like sleep? Because I know that in my family, it's been one of the biggest challenges that we have had is getting the kids to go to sleep. And then
there's a book on that too. You know what it's called?
Lots of books.
It's called, it's a fresh word. You got to look it up. It's hysterical.
The one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The
struggle is real.
Yes, it is. And Samuel L. Jackson does a wonderful job reading that book in the video that I saw. But yeah, so how do you tackle that kind of thing in the book? I mean, is it tips for kids to trying to trick themselves into falling asleep, or what is it?
Well, I think you know how kids are when they hear it from their parents, they don't want to listen, but sometimes when they hear it from like an outside source, it's like, ooh, maybe I should listen. Right. I put it out there. There are different tips to help kids go to sleep. Some big ones are, don't be using electronics like video games, phones, computers before you go to bed, because that's very stimulating to the mind. Try to bring it down, whether it's reading or taking a bath or having your parents help you with some essential oil like a lavender spray or whatnot. There's a lot of different tricks to do, but it just reminds kids of like why sleep is important as well. Like, 'cause when we sleep, it's our body's time to detox and clear out all the junk that our body's taken in throughout the day.
Well, I mean, that kind of gets into, the next thing that I was going to ask about, because water, like sleep and water, are two things that I think everybody needs a ton of. Nobody gets enough of. And kids don't want to drink water. They don't want to stay in bed. They don't, they want to get up.
They fight everything.
They want to run around. They want to play outside in the sun. And when it's time for them to drink something, they want milk. At least my kids. Or if they see a soda, they're like, I want some soda or something. It's like, well, once in a while, whatever.
Right.
But your body wants water.
Right.
Drink the water. Don't look at me not drinking the water. Just drink the water. So I think it's really great that you're kind of putting all this stuff into a way that kids can really kind of try to absorb it for themselves. But as far as healing and caring for themselves, what are some of the more important tips or philosophies that you kind of lay out there for kids to get on the right path with this stuff?
Yeah. I think one of the huge pieces is nutrition is so important, and we don't always make that connection. Yeah. And so one of my analogies is your body is like your car that you're going to have for your entire life. And you have to think about how you're going to treat that car. If you're going to have it your whole life, are you going to get the oil changed? Are you going to wash it regularly? Of course, you would take fabulous care knowing that it's like your only vehicle. And so when we view our bodies like that, it's like, well, what do we want to put? We want to pour soda into our car, or do we want to pour water? Right. People will laugh when I always say, like, would you give your dog soda? No, that's so bad. They'd get sick.
Now, I know some people do give their pets beer, which is a little strange too.
So nutrition is so key. And I think like just establishing that for kids early on, letting them know what's important and how their body is actually going to take that food and use it to build their cells, and their entire body is made up of that food. Right. So just instilling this, it's a lot of seed planting, it's modeling at home, and it's seed planting, reading the book together and the discussions that will come out of it. So basically I talk a lot about the nutrition and the water and sleep. I also talk about forgiveness, which a lot of people were like, oh, that's interesting. Forgiveness is medicine, but it's so true, because when we hold on to those feelings like anger or frustration, it can create physical illness. Stress creates so much physical illness. Yeah. And so when we are able to like release stress and release anger feelings, it's healing to our body. It makes room for better things like love and peace to fill us. Sure.
Now, what about, because another seems like a large component of your book is getting kids to connect with what you call their spiritual side and understanding their purpose. So can you explain that a little bit? Because that could mean a lot of different things. Sure. So I'm just curious what the actual message that you think is important is for that sort of topic.
Yes. I think there's some point in many of our lives where it kind of hits us and we go, wow, I'm not just like this human lump. There's a lot more to me. I'm a spiritual, there's something going on that's deeper within me. I'm a spiritual being too. And I had one of those like really amazing aha moments last year that kind of pushed me really forward with this book.
Okay.
I went to a medium, which I've gone to a couple times in my life, but it's a person that can communicate with the other side. And, you know, I always go kind of with that skeptical mind, kind of giggling and waiting, you know, and he looked at me in the eyes and he goes, you need to wait after and come talk to me when everybody leaves. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what does he know about me? What did he see? You know, like what did I do wrong? And I'm like, oh, I was racking my brain going, oh my gosh, because I didn't understand any of this stuff back then.
Yeah.
So I went up to him after and I was like shaking and nervous. And he told me that I'm glowing purple. And I was like, okay, you know, what does that mean? Right. Tell me. And I didn't know much about spiritual things then. And he told me, you are going to be having this sort of awakening and you are going to be doing some cool stuff. And I'm like, well, tell me what, you know, like, how can I use this gift? And he said, you just need to meditate. And I was like, oh, what? Like, that means like you have to sit quietly. Like, I am not good at quiet. My mind is always like, you know, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So you couldn't even imagine like sitting quiet and meditating and doing what he said. But I just thought it was a really cool experience. Yeah. And I thought it was maybe I'll try it. So after that, I really started sitting and trying to do this meditation thing. And it literally changed my life.
Oh, wow.
It changed me. And I became very quickly aware that I am a spiritual being and having this earthly experience. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is going to freak a lot of people out when I tell them about this. But, you know, what's great nowadays is there's YouTube and there's Facebook and there's so many communities and information out there. So when you start to learn about things that are out of your comfort zone, you can easily find information and be enlightened. So I did that. I found some spiritual teachers online that, and listened to what they had to say. And I became absolutely infatuated with learning about this new part of me. And that was the neat piece. I was like, okay, this is what I have to do. I have to still write this book that I've had like, you know, in my computer for 10 years, just kind of lurking. Yeah. And I have to add this piece to it. It's very important.
So this was like a late ad.
So the book kind of started with basic concepts 10 years ago, but it didn't have the spiritual piece until about a year ago, till I really was able to have this journey. And I think because I was able to be awakened and learn a lot of information, and I'm still learning. Trust me, I'm going to be a student for life here. But
well, I think that's like a goal of mine, is to always be learning something.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I thought it would be a really great piece to add and to help kids start to like realize this earlier, you know, because here I am almost 40 and I'm like learning this and I'm like, imagine if like somebody could have showed me this when I was a little younger. And so I'm so excited to help kids see that. And it starts with simple things, just like when you can close your eyes and you can see things, you dream, right? And you can see things and you're seeing stuff without using your eyes. So there's something there, right? And you can hear, you can close your eyes and not hear anything. It'd be a silent room and you could hear yourself talking. You could say words and hear them. And, and so when you start to really think about this, you realize there's more than just this physical body that we're in. There's another piece and another layer. And when you start to kind of unravel this onion, you go, wow, this is pretty amazing, pretty deep. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, I mean, you mentioned a couple of times you were working on this book for a long time. What was the initial spark that set it in motion for you in your mind? Where was there a moment where you realized that you had this book to write, or was it sort of a gradual building up of ideas that you just decided you wanted? Because you're not a writer historically, right?
Oh no, I'm definitely more of a teacher, but. If I have to throw the pen in there to get it done, I will.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not as if you'd been writing for years and years and years, and this was just the next project. This was a brand new endeavor for you. So how did that happen? I mean, as someone who has spent some time as a writer, I have difficulty understanding why anybody would want to start doing that.
Yeah,
if it wasn't something
right.
they did from
point.
an early
you're
time.
You're not diving into
Right.
millions here. A couple things. When I was always wondering, in a classroom, I'm reaching 20 to 25 kids in a year's time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that I can make a difference in their lives and be with them. But how could I go bigger? How could I reach more kids faster? Mm-hmm. And for me, writing was a way to do that. It opened up this avenue where I could get a message out there to more kids and connect with more kids in a bigger way. And so I always kind of kept that in the back of my mind as a possibility.
Yeah.
That was one piece. And the other piece was just the couple experiences I had in the classroom. I don't remember if there was an exact moment, but I do remember a few things. Like, for instance, back 15 years ago, I had a beautiful student, and she had two moms, and they most amazing parents like anybody could ever have. And I remember her still kind of, not talking too much about it. And I wanted to bring it up as much as I could to make it a very normal, comfortable thing, because that's what I believed it was.
Right.
It was love. Her parents were in love. They were great parents. There was no need to hide anything. And I talked to my principal about it. And I remember she was like, well, just don't bring it up because we don't want to and I was really offended. And I was like, how can you not bring that up? This is life. This is what these kids really need to learn.
Right.
I don't want them to tease her and make fun of her. I want them to accept her and not judge her. And I just was so shocked by that. And it kind of started this whole, well, what else am I kind of being censored, Then I would look at things like our health curriculum, and I would see, this big bin of health curriculum is all about, getting your milk in, and milk does a body good. And look, who made this?
Right.
Oh, the dairy industry made this.
Right.
And it's free. Interesting. This is what we get because the school's like the free. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So there was a lot of things that kind of would spark my curiosity, and I'd say, what, I got to get this out, and I gotta tell kids about this, and I want to bring some light to that.
Okay. So it was a little bit of a rebellion almost.
Always. Yes. I have that side to me. It can get me in trouble sometimes, but absolutely. I like to feel like I'm a truth teller, and I'm here to spread knowledge and wisdom. Yeah.
All right. So we mentioned briefly that the target audience for your book is 10 years old. Is it like 8 to 12,
about 8
something like that?
12. About 8 to 12. A little older.
Fourth to seventh grade or something like that, right? Was that to be able to write for that sort of age group? Did you have to be conscious of the way you went about writing, like word choices or the way you were telling the stories in the book? And how did you go about making sure that your ideas, your philosophies would be accessible to the audience that you were writing for? Was that ever a challenge for you?
Because I taught it for so long, it's the area that I'm really comfortable with. And the nice part is, too, is my son is just about, he's 8 now, so he's getting right in the beginning of that stage. So I just...
Here, learn to read with this red pen. fix what you can.
Oh, my gosh. If I can only get him to read my book. It's the typical parent that he won't, he won't listen to mom. I got to cross off my name on the bottom and tell him someone else wrote it. It's just natural to have that age group comes really natural to me. I love that age. It feels good. But I had some editors help me as well. Yeah. I self-published, so I had to hire my own cover designer, hire my own editors, and I picked people that were in I had an elementary educator help me with editing, so she was a good set of eyes to look over it and say, you know what, maybe you want to lose that part or phrase it this way. Because it's always so important to have other eyes peek at it
definitely
to see their perspective.
Other eyes and time.
Yes.
Write it, put it away, look at it.
10 years later, see it again.
Much later. What was the actual process of writing the book like for you? Did you have structured writing time where you knew for 2 hours every day I'm going to sit down and write something for this book, or was it more spontaneous in nature?
it's interesting how it all unfolded. But in January, I had this amazing blessing of a weekend where I got to
January
travel.
of this year.
I got to be away with my husband, alone, no kids, for
What?
like 3 days. Yes, in the
Who
Bahamas.
told you that you could do that?
It was amazing, amazing. And I think like when you're on those moments of, where you're on a vacation and your mind is able to just like relax, you have some of your best inspiration. I always find I personally do. So on the way home on the plane ride, I sat there and I wrote my entire table of contents, and I wrote pretty much every chapter I wanted to include in this book. It just spilled out of me. Blah.
All right.
And then when I got home, I sat 2 hours on Tuesdays and 2 hours on Thursdays to get one chapter done.
Okay.
So basically 2 chapters a week. And I tried to stick to that goal until I was finished.
How long did it take you to get the complete first draft?
Till the beginning of the summer. So about maybe early June.
Okay. So about
January
6 months.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
5-6 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about like, so you brought in editors and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Then it got crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's so what was that like for you as a new writer?
Overwhelming.
To put this thing that you'd been brainstorming for a decade into the hands of new people, sharing these ideas with people whose job it is to be critical.
Oh yeah.
What was that for you?
It was intense. Like the writing part always felt like relaxing and enjoyable, and it felt doable, and
right.
I'm always the kind of person that likes to do 40 things at once and is like rushing too fast. But I really I felt like my guides were helping me with this project and telling me, go slow, do not look ahead. Do not. So usually I'm 45 steps ahead and I've already picked out my cover and one thing at a time. I was really good at just sticking with one thing at a time. But when I had to go to the next step, it did start to get a little overwhelming, having to hire and find people. I used a lot of different sites, which we're lucky to have nowadays. Things like this 99 Designs. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's really cool. It's a really fun site.
Okay.
You basically go on and you tell people that you about your idea, what your vision is, and they compete for the work. They'll design a cover or a logo or whatever it is. So I was working on that piece, having my cover designed and doing a contest.
The cover looks great. I think it's really neat. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm pleased how it came out. I had 2 that I really liked. That was tricky at the end. It was because you get like 100 and something covers you got to pick. It's like, oh my gosh. So I did that, and then at the same time, I went on Upwork, which is another great online site, and I hired a couple editors to look through my work
individually. Like they didn't know the other one was looking at it?
Right? Yeah, okay. So just different eyes.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. And even after that, I was like, I could have edited it 10 more times myself. I did pretty much. And I had my husband read it, and like a friend, and a bunch of just a lot of people to kind of look at it and. It's hard because you get a lot of opinions and you have to at some point go, you know what? I'm just going to keep this because it's what I want to say.
Now, how different is the final product from what you had initially put in the hands of those editors and those first readers? Was there a lot of change that had to be made, or was it just typos, or was it more substantial than that?
Not much, actually.
Oh,
a lot of typos, maybe just little ways things were said. But the only thing I added last minute, which I totally went back and forth on, I recently became a vegetarian.
Oh, okay.
I would say earlier this year. And I wanted to add something in about that, but feel very torn because I understand, as a meat eater for 30-something years, I get it. And so I wanted to put something in, and I went back and I went forth, and I actually put it in after my editors looked at it. So I was like, oh gosh, they may have totally crossed this paragraph out. But I wanted to just be a voice for the animals. And again, I like to present everything with, this is my opinion. This is how I feel.
Yeah.
You don't have to take it. And I know it's controversial. Investigate it, do your own thing. But this is, in kid language, of course.
Right. Well, see, I don't like to be controversial on. I just really like promoting everybody's creative projects and stuff. But you mentioned something like that, and I wonder, putting that sort of high level kind of conscious thought. You know what I mean? The idea of vegetarianism and animal rights and all that stuff. I was vegan for about a year, a little less than a year. I got really sick, so I couldn't stay vegan as much as I actually enjoyed it. Phrasing that for an 8, 9,
Yes.
10-year-old kid, if my kids came in to the dinner table with a book in their hand and they'd been reading it and they put it down on the table and they looked at me and they said, "I'm not eating this." Well, why? Well, I'm a vegetarian. Well, why?
I'm gonna burn that book.
Well, this book said I can't eat meat anymore. Like, do you know what I'm trying to?
Yeah, it is controversial.
So
absolutely.
it can be a little confrontational.
Yeah.
Or could create a confrontation. So
I like to think of it more of a conversation.
okay, all right. We'll go with conversation. But is that something you're conscious of
Yes.
while you're writing it, and how
Yes.
does that change the way you phrase it or present it a little
Right.
bit?
In the book, I talk about foods to eat to
Yeah.
promote good health and foods to limit or avoid. And so I'm not saying you have to like completely cut out certain things. I say, limit it. It would be a better thing for your health and just for the planet. And again, our habits are usually based on how we were raised. So a lot of times we don't even necessarily think about what we're doing or why we're doing it. We're just doing it on autopilot.
Right.
So the point of the book is to kind of pause and really think about our daily actions and the consequences of them.
Yeah.
And it can make, it makes me uncomfortable sometimes because I still drink milk and I'm not comfortable with it. But I think it's just bringing awareness to it. And in my book, I'm able to phrase it so like a child could understand it. But I also have it in there that, this is a controversial topic and you have to do what's right for you and find your own truth. And I think that's super important because, there's a million opinions out there. There's a million people that are going to have their own beliefs. And it's just, we need to have kids to be free thinkers and be able to make their own decisions,
Sure.
not just blindly just do things because of,
Right. But after they move out of the house,
it's okay if parents have and the cool part about this book is that it's great as a read aloud. So it causes like everyone to have a conversation and to think.
Well, that's what I was just about to ask, like, because you had mentioned before reading it together
Right.
with parents and, parents and kids reading the book together or reading it out loud. What is is it something that's accessible to adults as they're reading it, or is it too geared toward children for adults to really, I don't want to say take it seriously, but kind of be able to think about it at the level that they would need to really be able to have a conversation with the kids about it?
Well, in all the different reviews, I would say one of the common themes was most of the adults said they got so much out of it themselves and just felt like it was, really important book to have in the house. And I had a few adults tell me that they struggled growing up as readers, and it was the first book they actually like really understood and felt they could take some value from. So that was special to hear. Because I take concepts, someone said, this is like Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now. And they would quote some very well-known authors and say I was able to kind of take similar concepts and break them down in a 4th grade vocabulary. So I think no matter what age, you could read it and get some great things out of it. And I think just having it accessible to anybody makes it more enjoyable. Who wants sometimes at the end of the day, like you want to be healthy and happy, but you have to read this very challenging book that your brain is like, oh my gosh, I can't. And even for me, I'm like, I have to like pause and take like one page at a time here. So it's nice to make it accessible for anybody.
Yeah. I saw some of the reviews on Amazon. They were all pretty good. And there were several adults that, I saw a couple of those comments. I thought it must be a pretty well-rounded book to have such a wide age range, be able to take something away from it.
Thank you.
So it seems like it's going over pretty well so far. Have you tried to put it out through a distributor, or is this just really just going to be your thing and you're going to take it just from the ground up and all the way by yourself?
Well,
which seems to be a popular thing to do these days.
Yeah, self-publishing's gotten a lot better than it used to be, which is cool. it offers a lot of opportunity. To be honest, Jordan, I'm not really sure how I'm going to get it out there completely yet. I don't feel like I have to know all the answers.
It's hard.
I don't feel like I have to know everything. That's just like with writing the book. I didn't know how I was going to actually make it into like a physical paper book. I'm like, it's going to get there. But, and the same thing, Amazon's huge, and it could be a little scary because there's like, 8 million books or something. So
just that,
it's crazy. I don't even know.
Infinite number of books.
Like, every time I quote, I'm saying something different. I'm like 3 billion, 8 million today. Right. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I think that it's consistency and it's time and consistency. And it's also timing, like when people are ready. I look at some of these amazing books that are out there. I'm like, oh, wow, that was written like 10 years ago, but now it's popular. Yeah. So I feel like it's a combination of things. I just know for myself, my number one priority is my family and my health and wellness. Yeah. And very easily I can, I could spend 100 hours a week trying to promote my book and get it out there. And I just can't do that for my own well-being. It will have to be slow and steady. And I'm blessed to have you helping me today.
Well, I mean, I really love that there are people that are willing to not only do the writing of books these days, but do the self-publishing aspect of it. Because like you said, it is easier to do now than it used to be. And going through a publishing house, you're on their timeline, and it could be a year, it could be 2 years from the time that you get it to them. So the avenues that are available now, and like you're doing, and so many other authors in Connecticut are doing, where they're doing the self-publishing, they're taking it to the stores themselves. Right. I really think it's awesome. I think it's great to be able to get that local connection with the authors, and go shake the hand of the person that owns the bookstore and be like, hey, put this, here's my book, put 10 copies on the shelves or whatever. I think it's really awesome.
It is fun.
Yeah. Are you enjoying the process?
I am really enjoying it. I am enjoying it. It's like that, it's finding that balance, because I could spend 100 hours playing and promoting, and I love it. And the best part is just when somebody will message me and just say, thank you so much. I love those words, or our kids really need this, or my child is enjoying this piece. Yeah. So that's makes it all worth all the time and the energy. I didn't become an author to, make $1 million. If I did, that'd be great, because I would be able to do more blessings with it. But I want to get the word out there. I want kids to be able to have this message. So as much as I can get it out there, I just love that.
What about libraries? You get it into libraries at all yet?
I could eventually, but I'm going to be donating 15 copies to some local libraries. I just dropped off some copies to the East Hampton Memorial School today. Gave one to the principal.
Oh, great.
And I'll drop some more off at the center school. So I think it's important just to give and to do that. That's the other cool thing was for advertising, because I'm so new, I thought it'd be fun to do sharing on Facebook. So I said to people, if you share, I have this organization that I'm going to give to. So,
I saw that. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that at all? Because it seems like a great organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will. The crazy part is I just met this lady, and she friended me on Facebook. So what most people would do would be like, oh my gosh, it's a scammer, right? Someone's trying to contact me for money. And unfortunately, there's a lot of that in our society. So our walls go up. Yeah. But I've always been praying I've always had a thing for orphanages. I always said to my husband a long time ago, someday we're going to buy an orphanage and like save these kids. And I just would love to be able to, I have a very big heart for kids. So this lady contacts me out of the blue, and she doesn't ask for help. She just starts like a friendship, which on Facebook is kind of strange when you don't know somebody. Yeah. So of course, what do? In my free time, I scroll through her newsfeed and try to read everything possible to see if, this is shady or legit. Right. And
it's a hard thing to figure out sometimes.
Oh my gosh. But just looking through her stuff, it was like, wow, this lady runs an orphanage with 17 kids in Uganda, and she does not have much help. And these kids are like, happy to have like a teeny room to sleep in with a few cots. Like they're sleeping 3 or 4 to a cot, some on the floor. But they were celebrating because this was like their new place that they had just raised money to buy. So anyways, she had a few people on there that she tagged thank yous to. And so I contacted them to say, listen, is this real?
Yeah,
Like, I really want to help this lady. She
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
amazing, but just help me out here. And one was like a pastor that had a friend that, so anyways, I checked it all out and got really great confirmation that this lady really does need help. And
Yeah.
for me, that's a divine connection, because I know God said, to me, I'm going to match you up.
Okay.
She needs someone and you can help her right now in your life. So, I did this fun thing on Facebook because I like to create win-wins.
Yeah.
So, share my message, share my book. I'll bless her kids. And we did that. I don't think I sold that many copies, but that's okay because I'm still going to help the kids out.
Yeah.
So I just sent her some funds yesterday,
Okay.
and I'm waiting because I'm sure she'll post some cool pictures.
Yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
some of those kids will start going to school. She'll buy some food, some water.
Yeah.
And I'd love to just kind of partner with her and help her out as much as I can.
How did she find you?
Just randomly through
random.
Facebook.
Oh,
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. So when I wrap up these shows, I like to do a couple of kind of fun, silly segment things. First one is front row center. I'm just going to give you some rapid fire questions,
Gosh.
and whatever answer comes to your mind, that's the one that's got to come out. There's no wrong answer unless I decide otherwise after you've given it.
I get in trouble for what my mouth says sometimes. That's why I like writing, because I can delete it and
Yeah,
go
right.
back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's none of that here. Your favorite movie?
Oh my gosh, I don't even have one. I thought Dumb and Dumber, because I seriously don't even watch movies anymore. I haven't watched a movie in 20 years because my kids take up all my time.
Oh, okay. That's a funny movie.
Yeah, it's not my favorite movie, but let's go with it because
Okay.
it was the first on my
All
mind.
right. The best meal you've ever had? Lots of milk and cheese, probably.
Yeah, well, back when I was a carnivore, I was like chicken. I love me some good chicken parm, but I haven't had that in a long time. I'm okay with it.
Let's see. One place everyone should visit before it's too late.
Ooh, that's a good one. And I have to go fast, huh? There's an island I went to in the Bahamas. It's so beautiful. And I'm blanking on the name, but it's a very small island. And I actually had breakfast, and Dave Matthews was sitting across from me. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
how cool it
That's
is there.
funny.
And people just
Did
drive
you
around.
crash into him?
I wish I crashed into him. I was like 10 years ago, I would have been on the floor, when I was in college. But now it was just like, hey.
Yeah. All right. So
yeah.
I have to change this question because now you're off of dairy for the most part. I was going to ask what your favorite ice cream is.
I still like ice cream. I
But-
told you I'm a work in progress.
All right.
We all are. It's okay.
I'll give you the option. You can either give me your favorite ice cream or your favorite ice cream substitute.
No. We'll go with ice cream. Anything chocolate or peanut butter.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a chocolate peanut butter swirl would be
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
Yep.
a good one. Yeah. One time in your life that you have laughed the hardest.
When I was pregnant, the hormones were so crazy.
Oh, boy.
People could say anything to me and I would be shaking, snots, embarrassing. It was out of control.
Oh,
People
man.
thought I was sick. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And the last thing I always like to do is have everybody give a recommendation. So try to sell me on something that you've discovered that you just want to share with other people that you think they might enjoy. Could be anything.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier that one of my cool transformations kind of started when I went to a medium. So, that was a medium that just brings in people that have passed over. And that's a really cool experience. And I think if you haven't been to one, it's just something that you have to go experience. And then if you want to get really risky, you could try a physical medium, which is mind blowing. And that's when a person can actually use their body to channel people from the other side. And they can talk or do things or move objects. And
Where do you find this person?
well, actually, I went in Glastonbury. There's a healing and wellness center that is fabulous there. And Priscilla, she's the one that runs it. She actually is, I'm taking a class with her, a year-long class about being a holistic practitioner. So she has a couple events that she does every year. She brings in people from all around the world. And she actually has a Christmas one where she brings in this guy that comes and does some pretty cool stuff with Christmas toys. He can make them move without batteries.
Ooh,
yeah, it's something that you have to go. You just have to see it. It's not scary though. That's the other part that, like, of course, I told my husband that we were going to go on a date and I didn't tell him where. And that's where I brought him. I said, oh yeah, we're going to, he was horrified.
I was going to ask you how that
we're very
went
different.
Over.
So he was horrified, but he was at the end. That was a really cool experience. It's just something you have to go and take it for what it is. You may believe it, you may not, but just expose yourself to different things. And it was a very like safe, peaceful, loving environment. So making sure you're doing, anything like that and with love and light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
First time I've gotten that recommendation.
Oh, I got to be different. I didn't want to give you another restaurant.
All right. How you feeling now?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. This was fun. I enjoyed getting to talk with you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. Now, I think a lot of Becky's ideas fall pretty squarely into the realm of pseudoscience. And I am not comfortable endorsing that part of it. Now, in saying that, I also think that she has every right to her own opinions on the subject, and I certainly don't want to be the one censoring ideas different from my own, particularly when I have control of the platform. So I've actually at this point read quite a bit of Becky's book with my own kids. They each have their own copy, and here's what I'll say about it. There is a lot of great stuff to take away from it in terms of encouragement, kindness, acceptance of others, but it's also full of what I consider to be kind of new agey concepts and a lot of Christian teaching. So for a secular, scientifically minded family like my own, it's not really a good fit. Now, if anecdotes and prayer are your thing, then by all means, read away. Now, it's also very possible that I am completely full of crap. The Magic of Me currently sits at a comfy 4.9 out of 5 stars on Amazon, where it is also on 3 separate top 10 lists at the time of this recording. So obviously it's been an enjoyable read for a lot of people. And I think, Becky should be very proud of what she's done. It's available in paperback and available on the Kindle, and you can find it in some of your favorite local bookstores. Now, Becky has also done a number of appearances and signings, so keep on the lookout for more of those. You can find out when and where she's going to be by following her on Facebook. You can find her at author Becky Cummings, or you can visit her website, authorbcummings.com. All right, I think I have done enough damage, dug my hole deep enough, so I'm going to get to my recommendation. I'm going to go back to my childhood here for something that I reread a couple of years ago and really considered to be a beautifully written, creative narrative of some of the most important science that we've discovered so far. Carl Sagan, his project Cosmos from 1980, was actually a book and a television series. Sagan touches on anthropology, cosmology, history, and several other topics in Cosmos. And while the specific science may be out of date in places, it remains, for me, just a masterpiece of popular science achievement. And after all, as Sagan says, we are all just made of star stuff. So that's it for now. Until next time, keep creating.